I'm thinking blockchain in particular. Is that something that you were into from before?
My entrepreneurial journey started as early as 2012. I would be a consultant during the day, and in the night I would try to build some of the other startups, starting from a tours and travel company. Then I became an independent artist, then built a music label, then a dating app, then a social media platform. I kept trying to build something,
What drove you to create something so complex within blockchain?
Now, when I was going through this journey of building these products, early 2016, early 2017, you started seeing a lot of blockchain and crypto projects. And this was like an increasing and booming industry. And I was like, this is the opportunity I don't want to miss.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Minds podcast. I'm Olivia Karlsson, and I lead the business relations at Curanium. And the Quantum Minds podcast is a podcast about emerging technology where we really dive deep and pick the brains of some of the world's most influential people, whether it be global leaders, entrepreneurs. So in today's inaugural episode of Quantum Minds, I have the pleasure of interviewing the CEO and co-founder of Quranium, Kapil Dhiman. And Kapil Dhiman is a very humble guy that I have the pleasure of working with. He is building the foundation of the new world, making sure that emerging technologies have some place to continue to develop in the space of quantum security, decentralization, and scalability. So Kapil, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's such a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Olivia. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Same, big time. Let's do this. Okay, Kapil, so I'm super curious to hear more about your personal experiences and what drove you to create something so complex within blockchain.
I've had a very regular life. Honestly, come from humble background where I was always taught the value of life, and the value of simplicity is much important than the value of money. That's the kind of environment I grew up in. My mother was a very religious person, still is. And she always tried to, teach me a lot of things on the spiritual side of things to make me a better human, like every mother does. And one fine day, I remember she told me that as per the Hindu religion, I'm a Hindu, there are 84 lakhs lives or 8.4 million lives that you have to take before you get birth as a human. And she was trying to teach me that from the perspective of making me religious and, devote myself to God. But the learning I took from that session with my mother was that this life you have got after a lot of hustle, after a lot of hard work. God has been testing you in different fields by putting you in different situations. And after you passed all those exams, that's when you got birth as a human. So this is a gift given to you by God. And the time on this planet is very limited. Really, really very limited. Time is the only thing which nobody has control over. You can get control over everything else, but not time. So how do you utilize your time? And everything that I have been trying to do in my life since that day is to make an impact on this world, is to build something, is to create something that can add value to humans at large. And whenever I leave this world a better place, a different place. Even if I'm able to contribute 1% more to where this world was when I came on this planet, I think my life would have been served. So that's the mindset with which I wake up every day and really aim to find a problem that can be solved to bring in more efficiency to the way humans at large conduct themselves. That has been the foundation to everything, and then rest has been a process.
Amazing. So I'm thinking, how does this tie into blockchain specifically? I mean, there's so many different emerging technologies out there right now.
Yeah.
We're seeing a very sort of transformational time on the planet. And so I'm thinking blockchain in particular, is that something that you were into from before? Or was it something that you kind of wanted to explore for the purpose of, kind of diving deeper into one specific technology? What kind of drove you into this branch, so to speak?
My entrepreneurial journey started as early as 2012. I was studying for CA, became a CA, entered the consulting world. and got global opportunities that I'm very grateful for, taught me how the corporate world operates. But somewhere deep down my heart, I always was like, this is not exactly what I want to do. I want to build something. So I would be a consultant during the day, and in the night I would try to build some of the other startup, starting from a tours and travel company. Then I, became an independent artist, then built a music label, then a dating app, then a social media platform. I kept trying to build something. Every time an idea would come to my mind, the first thing I would do is find people who I can build it with, find the best people, and then kind of put something together and build that out. And then experiment with it, go to the market, go try to sell it to people, see, I built this, give me your feedback. So that kind of a curiosity always existed. And so that's how it started. Some things worked, something didn't work. My bank balance never worked because whatever I used to earn, I would put into building something. Loved that process. Still that kid is there inside me to kind of just build for the purpose of adding some value. But at the same time, the commercial mindset also kicks in because life is not all about experimenting and building products. If you actually want to build an entrepreneur and add value to the world, you have to build something of substance. You have to build something at scale. And that is where translating an idea into a product, into a team, into a company, all these things, which is like a step-by-step process, kicks in. Now, when I was going through this journey of building these products, building these startups, working as a consultant, every time the one common thing that I noticed was the timing of it. Is the market ready for this kind of a product, or I am suitable enough to lead this kind of a product and build this kind of a product? Many times the answer came as no. And the kind of passion I've always had, I always used to compare it with in the 90s when the internet thing kind of boomed. I was like, God, if I was, I was in the center of the internet scene in the 90s, I could have done something, different. I could have, because the ecosystem around me would have flourished and supported building an innovative product around. I'm a 90s kid, so that was not possible. That's when the blockchain revolution started coming out. Early 2016, early 2017, you started seeing a lot of blockchain and crypto projects. And the kind of skill set which was required to build a successful blockchain project, I saw that, okay, I can do justice to this. And this was like an increasing and booming industry. So the 90s revolution that happened in the internet space, I saw the same thing happening in the blockchain space in 2016, 2017. And I was like, this is the opportunity I don't want to miss. And I started diving deeper. I have a habit that before starting anything else, anything new, I love to dive as deep as possible into that concept. So studied decentralization, studied blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and how it operates, how is it different from the centralized world, and discussed with a lot of stakeholders like business owners, investors, the governments, to understand, okay, what can it actually be a global revolution as it was appearing at that time? The answer to all the questions came as yes. And that's when I decided, okay, this is the field that I'm going to build my career into now. And I could see the kind of skill set I had that, okay, I think I can do justice to it. Because it required a mix of product development, understanding the technology, having a psychological aspect and sociological aspect to it, because at the end of the day, you have to convince the society at large to start using a new technology. So a mix of all those things were required. And that's when I entered. So my journey in blockchain started in 2016, 2017. And from then, it has been like a really, really fascinating journey.
That's so exciting. I love to hear the context behind things.
Yeah.
And kind of like a follow-up question to what you just explained, because, it seems to me like being a visionary or driving projects of impact is something that's been important to you for a very long time. Yeah. What do you think is the key ingredient in your life that is kind of created this drive and aspiration to make something bigger than yourself and to actually impact the world at large and not just doing things at a micro level? You really seem to not have any limitations in your mind. So I'm just wondering, do you think there's a particular ingredient in your upbringing or from somewhere in the past that has kind of influenced this aspect of you?
I usually think about this a lot when I sit down alone every day, when I'm meditating or just spending time by myself. There are only two kinds of situations in which an individual becomes, I call it bulletproof. which is like the world will attack you. The world will tell you no, stop. The world will tell you can't do it, but still you rise above and you build something. You survive, you win. Difficult upbringing, so many tests that the life took from you. And you were in difficult positions where you survived and you became, like, as we call, street smart, and you got exposed to different environments. Like Bill Gates was lucky, he got into a college where computer came first. Steve Jobs had a different life when he was growing up, which shaped his mindset. Elon Musk was different. So like all these world leaders, they had different positioning individually that life put them into. For me, it was nothing like that. I had a good childhood. My parents really, really took good care of me. Came from a middle class family, but they did everything that they could to give me a good upbringing. I had limited exposure to life because of course, the environment that I grew up in. But my belief from that day, the day my mother explained me about that, 8.4 million lives, my belief and my mindset changed completely. And from that day, I've always believed that I'm meant to build something great. I am meant to be one of the greatest of all times. I believe it every day I wake up. Now, the question that I ask myself is, okay, you believe that you're going to build something great. You believe that you're going to change the world. What you're doing right now, does that result into that end goal? And most of the times, the answer I used to get was no. So how do you reach your destination? When you believe something that you're going to change the world, but the situation you are in and the way you're conducting yourself every day gives you an answer that no, you're not heading towards there. So what do you change? Then I started putting myself in those difficult situations to make myself bulletproof. I started taking a lot of difficult decisions, gave myself a hard time, gave myself a hard life purposely to kind of become tough. The kind of people I associated myself with. Even professionally, the kind of offers that came to me, the job opportunities, I said no to a lot of money that came my way, that I could have literally made 10x of what I have today if I would have taken some decisions in my life. But I purposely chose not to. The belief married with the situation that I purposely put myself into to reach a goal from where I can actually start taking decisions and start conducting myself in a way that, okay, now I'm confident that I will build something of substance.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think, I hear so many people that are in a similar position as you, building companies, saying that, self-discipline and, really building that confidence through your actions that, this is my worth, this is my value, but it's not in my head. It's not driven by ego. It's driven by tangible evidence in everything that I do. I think that that resonates with a lot of people that are, starting up maybe and trying to work on some personal development aspects of their life. What would you say is the value in humility paired with this mindset of yours? Because I would say that even though a lot of the things that you're saying about, your mindset is driven by evidence, there's still this very humble aspect to the way that you look at life and the way that you approach things. Why is humility important, in pairing it with that?
I've always believed that acceptance makes your life easier. The more you battle, the more you're unhappy. So the foundational reality is that human body by itself is worth nothing. One stroke, 1 second, and you're done. So what do you have an ego and attitude for? There's somebody sitting up there who's running the show, who dictate the terms, and you have an R&R, literally. You have a roles and responsibility on this planet. You do that, you're done, you're retired. So while you do your defined roles and responsibilities, your job that God has chosen you for, do it with the belief that you are best at it. If I'm the CEO of Curanium, I have to believe I'm going to be the best at it. Only then I can deliver the best outcome, right? Anybody who does whatever job they do, first they have to believe that they're going to do it in the best possible way. You self-doubt, you can never deliver. If you're only doubting yourself, how is anybody around you going to believe on you? Nature has its own ways of teaching you what's your worth. And this realization came to me in 2016. I had gone to an Himalayan trek, 13,000 feet. You're out of network. You're in the snow. You're up on the mountain. You're trekking. You're climbing. It's beautiful. You look around, it's the most beautiful thing that you'll see in the world. Literally, like it gives you a different vibe altogether. And on the day of the summit, I remember literally like the path was like this wide, and you're walking like tick, 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 tick. This speed. You can't walk faster. You can't walk slower. You have to maintain this momentum.
As well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to maintain that momentum. On one side, there is like the mountain. On the other side, there is like steep valley. You slip, you're gone. One stroke of wind comes, you're gone.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the situation you're walking in. And that's the time it sunk in that literally I'm at the mercy of somebody who's running this world around. There's no rains coming. There's no wind coming in. And hence I'm able to walk comfortably. One stroke of wind and I'm gone. You are nobody. You're literally a nobody. You are just, a machine that somebody sent on the planet to do a job. Mm-hmm. Do that job to your best capability, believing that you are the best at it. And when you leave that job and when you retire, make sure that the company is the earth for me, right?
Yeah.
That benefited. And you made it better than it was before you came in. That's the balance that you have to maintain. I
think that's so interesting. I mean, it's funny how we all have like our own personal stories and how we can relate to what you just said. For me, it's surfing because like you have no control over how big those waves are going to get. And you got like tides and currents that are pulling you in different directions. And then, you get like we usually say that it's like a washing machine that tumbles you if you're unlucky. So I know what that feels like. And this kind of ties back into the mind over and over again. Like where do you find that strength in your mind to do different things? I'm thinking about people that are listening to this right now that might, be struggling with their mindset, or maybe they see the potential for improvement. Yeah. What would you say are like the 3 sort of pillar ways to work on your mindset? Like 3 easy ways to kind of move in the direction of the sort of mental space that you're speaking about.
So I think to start with, I don't think I'm capable enough to give anybody an advice, but I can share what I follow for myself.
Perfect.
One thing is the day I conduct myself every day to kind of keep myself driven is, first thing is to define a target, define a purpose. Okay, now this is my target that I have to achieve. This is my purpose. And within that, identify negotiables and non-negotiables. Some things are going to be like the definite non-negotiables. Now, for example, if in the next 10 days, this has to happen, this has to happen. If in the next 2 years, I want to build something at this scale, it's a non-negotiable. Now, how do you divide it into short-term and long-term? Once you start doing that, then suddenly there are automatic triggers in your brain that, okay, you have to achieve something by this time. And once you break things down like this, for me, it's like you have to be okay with sacrifices. You can't achieve greatness by being comfortable. It doesn't happen like that. I really wish it could, but it doesn't. And if you have committed yourself to a mission, you just give your all to that. And another belief I have is like, again, if you give your everything to something, it's impossible that you will fail. And you are your own judge in that. Like many times people say that I tried everything, it didn't work out. No, sit down with yourself and ask yourself honestly, did you actually give your all? If you have failed 100%, you lacked somewhere. Your dedication lacked. If you have given literally your everything and you gave yourself and committed yourself to that mission, it's impossible that you will not succeed. You will succeed. Why do we see innovation happening much more in some part of the world and much less on the other part of the world? It's the cultural aspects that get involved. In that part of the geography where there's a lot of innovation happening, you will see culturally people motivate each other. I have never understood the definition of work-life balance. It does not exist. It should be work-life harmony, like as Jeff Bezos always says, right? And I totally agree with that. You blend in 2 components of your life. Right? Your work is your life. Your family life is also life. Your family life understands your work. Your work understands your family life. When this harmony happens, then both coexist. Work-life balance, the definition that some pundits out there define is 9 to 5, then I'm done. Rest of the time is for my family. Really? Okay. If you want that, then don't expect exponential growth as well. Be okay to be average. Then don't come and say that I didn't grow faster. Opportunities are not there. It's there. Opportunities exist equally for everybody. It's for you to grab it. And for that, you have to give your all. For that, you have to sacrifice. For that, you have to understand that you don't get to be the best by behaving like an average. No.
Makes a lot of sense. And it kind of ties into like, if you have a foundation of gratitude and just humility for being a human being, then you're going to have to kind of capture the moment and seize the day in order to actually feel fulfilled and feel balanced, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love that. So you mentioned Jeff Bezos, and I'm thinking that what I would like to do in this next segment is to basically phrase a couple of different statements that inspirational people have made.
Oh,
and then, and then get your like immediate reaction or your spontaneous thoughts, just to see kind of like where your mind lands in alignment with what they're saying. Yeah,
you're putting me on the spot.
It's going to be interesting. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Jeff Bezos mentioned, in the old world, you devoted 30% of your time to building a great service and 70% of your time to shouting about it. In the new world, that inverts.
Yeah, actually it does. So, people are smarter now. They understand, they have the world of internet, they compare things, right? I mean, so Zishan always tells me, by the way, Zishan is my co-founder, my brother. So he always says that in Hindi there is a saying, "Jungle mein moor nacha kisne dekha," which means that a peacock danced in the forest, nobody saw it. So you have to show the dancing peacock to the world, to show the world that, how beautiful a dancing peacock is, right? So that's like for marketing, like to show and shout in that language, like shouting to the world what you're building. So it's definitely very, very, very important, right? But at the same time, like now responding on what Jeff Bezos said, 30% and 70%. Earlier, like again, I go back to the internet bubble thing, right? You create a web page and create a huge marketing around it. People are like, oh, internet is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. They pump in millions of dollars. When initially the crypto thing happened, like meme coins. And initial crypto bubbles was exactly like that. 30% product, 70% shouting. Now the industry, the world, humans have evolved. They have seen the whole up and down. They have seen success waves, failure waves. So they have become more intelligent. So shouting or marketing is very, very, very important. But yes, 70-30. You have to build a product of substance that when you go in the market and talk loudly about and people start using it because they are gonna does it work? So that testing is really gonna happen. So it's very important to build something of substance and then create a noise around it.
No, that makes so much sense. Next statement. Clayton Christensen said, disruptive innovation can hurt if you're not the one doing the disrupting.
How beautiful is that? Yes. I'll take an example to share my point of view on that. AI will take away jobs is a half-baked statement. AI will take away jobs of those who do not adapt to AI. That's the complete statement. So if you are not participating in the disruption or you are not disrupting in your own limited sense, not everybody has to make a chat GPT, but you can be somebody who uses chat GPT to do your day-to-day job as well. That's like utilizing the emerging technologies to disrupt in a meaningful way your day-to-day life, right? If you don't be that and you be averse to disruption, you be averse to innovation, then it's going to impact you. Then you're going to be the one who loses your job. That's how I think I would read that statement.
On to the next statement. Ginny Romedy. Cybercrime is the greatest threat to every company in the world today.
Yeah. Couldn't have said better. Yes. We live on the digital world much more than we live on the physical world. You're reading through your iPad. digital presence, right? Everything around is connected digitally, right? And when it comes to the enterprise level, millions, billions, and trillions of dollars are dependent on how transactions, information, data flows digitally. So the security of that literally is the security of our happiness, if I may to say the least. We are on Instagram, we exchange pictures with everybody. Imagine the digital security of that getting compromised. From our privacy to our money, everything is digital. And hence the foundational security of that is the most important thing. The world as we move forward, where the usage of the digital infrastructures, for what all do we use digital infrastructures, and how the dependency on the digital world is increasing with every passing day. With that, the foundation of cybersecurity also have to be redefined. We can't have the same standards of digital security while what is being built on top, while what is the digital world being used for is exponentially changing. Right? So cybersecurity, I think, has to be literally the foundation of everything that happens in the new world.
So follow-up question. How do we make sure that the security standards that are being implemented and the pace of technology evolving, how do we ensure alignment? Like, how do we make sure that there aren't going to be like these sort of huge differences as technologies emerge and things become more and more sensitive?
See, I think always the good and the bad moves in parallel. Sometimes one good motivates the bad. Like, for example, when the banking system becomes too strong, somebody tries to hack it. There's a lot of money there, money heist. While on the other hand, when a money heist happens, then suddenly the bank will be like, we need to kind of upgrade our infrastructure and make ourselves more secure. So which happens first is always like a debate, which came first, chicken or the egg. But the alignment comes with progress. Classic example, quantum computing, the industry in which, of course, Curanium is building. The first came the possibilities of quantum computing. Okay, we need to innovate in the drug discovery so that we can make healthcare more efficient, more faster to humanity at large. For that, we need much more processing power. So we need to make our computers more stronger. New chips came in, new investments started flowing in for this direction to identify and to move forward towards the goodness of this technology. Once that move happened, then it was like, hey, 1 second. This same speed, this same power can compromise the digital security also. Because the current security algorithms like RSA and ECC that we use, they are based on some strong mathematical factorization that normal computers can't break, and hence our digital world is secure. But on the other hand, we are building this quantum computer to solve a lot of problems. But at the same time, this same computer can solve this cybersecurity firewall as well. That becomes a problem for the digital world. Now you can't stop the growth of quantum computers because it has its own pros.
Yeah.
Then you have to upgrade the cybersecurity of the algorithms here. That is where post-quantum cryptography started becoming prevalent, and institutions around the world started research and development towards identifying algorithms which can be quantum secure. And hence, you see organizations like NIST, the US government, and now across the world, it has become like national quantum missions across the world to balance these two and give equal importance to both. We have to grow the quantum industry. We have to grow quantum computing development because it adds a lot of benefits to industries across. But at the same time, we have to grow the cybersecurity aspect and the post-quantum cryptography infrastructures as well. Because when this grows, this becomes a challenge. So both are going like equally hand in hand.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think this aligns with another question that I've been curious to ask you, because we're just looking into what's happening, on a year-to-year basis in terms of this development, especially from a government standpoint. Like, what are governments doing about this? How do we make sure that, enterprises are, kind of keeping up with the progressions and so on? And so governments are stepping in different ways. The U.S. Congress recently passed a bill, I think it was at the end of 2022, to ensure that systems move towards quantum security.
Yes.
What are your comments on that? And do you think that, this is going to be a trend that we see in more governments other than the US?
100%. I think this literally highlights in bold the urgency of the matter, right? I mean, the speed at which quantum computers are being developed across the world is increasing by at least 3x every year. And that has now started becoming a very strong focus area for the governments as well, to start thinking about the cybersecurity aspects of it. And that's where, this bill that you're speaking about by the US government came into picture, to move the sensitive departments to post-quantum cryptography. NIST, I think since last 8 years, have been researching towards identifying a post-quantum cryptography algorithm that can become the new standard and replace RSA and ECC that exists today as the foundational standard of algorithm that you use for any digital security. And now as we move forward, Zoom moved to post-quantum security. I think Google Chrome has become quantum secure. Apple quantum secured its iMessages. There is a reason why these trend-setting organizations across the world are moving towards this initiative, because it is very, 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 very important and very urgent. I always say, you don't hire a security guard after a theft has happened. You hire a security guard so that you can prevent any theft from happening.
Exactly.
Post-quantum cryptography is that security guard. You build it today because you never know when that theft is going to start happening. And that's where this thing is becoming relevant.
Despite, quantum computers perhaps not being able to hack data today, they may be able to in the future.
SNDL.
Yes.
Store now, decrypt later. Yes.
Exactly. And this is kind of something that is also ringing alarm bells in different ways.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So SNDL is like, okay, today there's a lot of data flowing around. The power of quantum computer that you need to intercept this data may not exist today. So hackers, what they have started doing is, they have started storing this data, but they can't decrypt it, right? So they can't read. Like, if I'm sending you an email, there is, like, for a hacker, it is like alphanumeric numbers, for example, right? So they can't read what is there in that email. So they can just store this alphanumeric number. Now, 1 year down the line, when they get enough computational power, then they will decrypt it. So imagine the exchange of sensitive information. And in crypto world, the public keys, the private keys they don't get access to. But if they get even the public key, that tomorrow, when they get a stronger computer, they can break it and get access to your private key. These kind of issues are now popping up a lot. And that's why larger organizations and even the consultants have started setting up departments to, redefine the security infrastructure so that they can prevent this SNDL attacks, which are expected to happen in the future, but your data gets stolen today. So you need to move to post-quantum cryptography today, so that the hackers can't even access your data, because they may break it later, which is going to, invite equal amount of stress and, financial damage.
100%. And, when we're talking about, quantum proof technology and making sure that these systems are quantum secure for quite some time up ahead, would you say that, post-quantum cryptography is like future-proof to the extent that it would be future-proof for centuries, or are we talking decades? Like, how much can organizations and governments expect to future-proof their systems if they, go for quantum proofing? Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Or?
Yeah, I mean, see, defining a timeline of it, for that you have to define a definition of future, right? Future is Like, how do you foresee something that can happen in the future? That is dependent on the available data that you have today, right? Based on the available data today, this is an existing threat that needs to be solved immediately, that needs to be started working in the direction of immediately. How long will this be proof? Depends on, again, the evolution. Next year, there can be some other trigger. So you need to kind of take another step to solve it. The year after that, there can be another trigger. So security is an ever evolving process that has to be updated based on the development that is happening technologically around the world. Quantum security is the most urgent requirement that you have to take action against if you have to survive in the near future. The next decade, at least, is going to be a convergence of quantum computing, AI, blockchain, IoT. These are the four technologies that I've always believed going to be the ones that are going to shape the future. So every enterprise will have to interact with these technologies one way or the other. You can't survive without that. And I take it back to the disruptor example, that the statement that you had asked.
Yeah.
If you're not the one disrupting, the disruption then will impact you. So if you're not the one interacting with these technologies, whether preparing yourself against it or utilizing it for the benefit of your customers, you're going to be evaporated literally from the ecosystem.
Awesome. This is super interesting. And I think that this naturally kind of segues us into some questions that I have about the blockchain space, because you're mentioning that other industries are working really hard to quantum-proof their systems.
Yeah.
And I would like to bring up a statement. Satoshi Nakamoto wrote, "The root problem with conventional currency is all the trust that's required to make it work."
Yeah. That's the whole belief system that made Bitcoin one of the most profitable, most traded, and at one point of time, the most relied on. I don't know if I can use the word currency with individuals across the world. And I think the challenge comes, there's so many things that Satoshi highlighted, and recently his email exchange with the initial developer got released, and where he was kind of trying to explain why he's creating Bitcoin and what he wants to achieve with it, and how the centralized systems, the centralized banking system, which tries to really dictate the terms, if I may, of how and how not you can utilize your own hard-earned money. And if I have to send you money and I have to wait for 2 days, sounds really unfair. Why? So that's where Bitcoin came out as a trustless infrastructure or a trustless currency, which started off trying to become a medium of exchange. Instead of a fiat currency, you use Bitcoin, which has no interference of a bank. It's P2P. There's a ledger which records everything, and everybody can see where the money is moving, of course, by respecting your privacy. But of course, then over the course of time, it has become a store of value. That's that's how the white paper release of Bitcoin created waves of just started a different trend altogether, and how fascinating it is. I still have that Bitcoin white paper big frame on my desk on my workstation, because that's where the revolution started from. And the beauty is, from there, how it has evolved to become like literally $1 trillion industry in itself. And that shows how much humans need self-custody, for the lack of a better word.
Right.
As we hear kids saying, "My life, my rules." It's like my money, my rules, my data, my rules. How big tech companies like Google, Facebook utilize your data and monetize it without you getting anything. How central banks literally, again, utilize your money, lend it ahead, etc., etc., etc. And if the banks crash, then your money is gone. So at the end of the day, users at large, retail users at large, are hostages of these big tech companies and big banks who dictate the terms and decide what happens with your life. And blockchain and the decentralized world has given that freedom to you that, hey, I'm sorry, enough. Now we decide what happens with our life. How I control my money, how I control my data, I decide to take decisions on that. And that's why we have seen exponential growths in the blockchain industry, and more use cases, more and more applications have started coming in, even at the browser level, right? Like the Brave browser was created around this concept that on Google, Chrome, Safari, etc., your data gets utilized, you get monetized, and you don't get anything. But on Brave browser, you can decide whether you want to share your data or not. And if you share any advertisements that run, you get a share of that. So, like that, there have been like so many projects. Of course, it has become now $1 trillion industry. And this is the future. This is the future, literally. And I'm sorry, I get lost. I get so fascinated about this industry because I truly believe that this is the best thing that could have happened to humanity. And everything in the future, to me, will be tokenized, will be decentralized. Everything, every industry. If you have to succeed, you have to interact with the decentralized infrastructures in one way or the other, in some capacity or the other. There's going to be so many innovations that will trickle, touching upon the blockchain use cases, that literally every company that exists on the planet will be utilizing the blockchain technology in one way or the other.
They'll need to embrace it sooner or later, basically.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so exciting. I'm like sharing that passion that I feel from you right now, in the sense that it's once you like educate yourself and you get more involved in these different emerging technologies and these different key players, the more you start to realize that, wait a minute, like what I'm being fed by like general media about, a lot of things spiraling out of control, it doesn't have to reflect the entire truth. Like there's so many positive aspects to the way that the world's progressing and evolving. And it's nice to be able to shed light on it from this perspective. And, we've spoken about decentralization. We've spoken about security aspects. We've spoken about like most industries probably needing to adapt in one way or another, probably meaning that there's going to be a lot of data that needs to be stored on ledgers. So with these three elements in mind, security, scalability, and decentralization, we've got something called the blockchain trilemma. Yeah. And it kind of aligns with the efforts that, Curanium is working to sort of, solve and innovate upon. Yeah. So with that said, I just would love to hear like your take on the blockchain trilemma and like how Curanium is like uniquely addressing it.
So the word or the term blockchain trilemma was coined by Vitalik Buterin when he released the Ethereum white paper. And he touched upon three foundational elements of a decentralized infrastructure: security, scalability, and decentralization, and highlighted that every decentralized infra will have to compromise or one or the other to give weightage to the other two. It is practically not possible to solve all these three, which is actually the most important three things in a decentralized infrastructure. If you have to make it a foundation, like I said, that every company in the future will have to integrate or embrace blockchain technology one way or the other. To achieve that, you have to achieve these three touch points: security, scalability, decentralization. But so far what we have noticed is every blockchain in one way or the other have had to compromise one of the aspects. At Curanium, there are three focuses that we have. Number one is, like we touched upon, quantum security. Even the security algorithms that the blockchains have today are prone to quantum attacks. A Deloitte report stated that more than 25% of the Bitcoins and more than 65% of Ethereums in circulation, just to name the top two, are prone to quantum attacks. The value is more than $550 billion. And these are just top two cryptocurrencies, or the top two infrastructures, if I may use that word. Now, multiply that or extrapolate that with every other infrastructure, every other project that is being created right now. Everything uses similar security algorithms. And with quantum computers coming in, the security of all these projects are going to be under a question mark. And that's why you are now seeing the more mature projects trying to move to post-quantum cryptography. Even Vitalik has highlighted at multiple places that the most important thing for Ethereum now is move to post-quantum cryptography. To my understanding, Avalanche is doing it, Cardano is doing it, every other a renowned infrastructure is putting emphasis on moving towards post-quantum cryptography. Now that is where the question comes from, what is the most efficient way of doing it? So that's the foundational aspect of giving importance to security, creating an infrastructure on which the world at large can rely from a security perspective. So that was the foundational vision behind starting Curanium, to create a quantum secure decentralized infrastructure. And we worked closely with a lot of world leaders across the globe to get their guidance and what is the best way to do it. That's where our technological innovation is coming from. We are using post-quantum cryptography to build our infrastructure. That's one part. Equal amount of importance is to be given to scalability. Now, nobody would want to use your infrastructure even if you are like super secure, but you're super slow.
Slow gas fees, so annoying.
It's like it deters innovation. It prohibits enterprises to adopt it comfortably, even for the users. If I have to send you $100 and I have to pay $10 as fee, I would rather be like, no, it's okay if a bank interfere, but that's like too much. So while we set on a mission to create something which is foundationally secure, we realize that equal amount of importance has to be given to scalability. And currently, all the there are like, I don't know how many layer 2 and now even layer 3s have started coming in that are building on top of the existing layer 1s. And to my eyes, the more the layer 2s, the more the layer 3s, they are highlighting the flaws on the existing layer 1s.
There's a foundational flaw at the core.
Exactly. And that's why you need somebody else or some other project to solve that flaw to achieve the achieve the end goal.
From the ground up.
And that's like an alarming thing. The more the layer 2s, layer 3s are coming without solving the foundational problem, somewhere down the line, the house of cards will fall. And hence you have to solve these challenges at the foundational level. And so we have created a dual layer architecture. That is where our, to achieve the scalability, combining blockchain at the foundation and block DAG at the core level, to allow us the flexibility and allow us the breadth to be like really, really efficient, scalable. And with the increase in the transactions and increase in the scalability and adaptation to the environment or the ecosystem as it may require. So that kind of an infrastructure to be created while being quantum secure. So that's like our second focus. And the third focus, which is very dear to our heart, is IoT, Internet of Things. We are entering into a world where machine to machine interactions and humans to machine interaction, the lines between them is going to blur out very fast, like faster than we realize. Autonomous vehicles are becoming a reality. The other day, I was sent a video where a family is getting into a driverless car and they are like excited. They are taking videos. See, this is the future. Those kind of videos, yes, it is very exciting, but at the same time scares me. A driverless car, which is interacting with a centralized server, if it gets hacked, what happens? You are sitting in a car with your family that somebody has access to with malicious intent. It can create a ruckus. And hence, we need to create an infrastructure which is practically unhackable, at the same time, really fast and efficient, which can exchange data and exchange information quickly for the vehicle to respond.
Literally 0 seconds,
exactly.
Essentially.
That's where the marriage of security and scalability comes into picture, dedicatedly for this IoT layer where human to machine or machine to machine interaction can happen much more efficiently. So these are the three focuses we have at Curanium, and we are building aggressively in that direction. And literally the dream is to create a foundational infrastructure on which from a small time vendor to a big enterprise can build on. Trusting in a trustless ecosystem of decentralization and infrastructure that you can actually trust to build on. Knowing that it's not gonna dig a hole in your pocket. It's gonna be really affordable. It's gonna be really efficient. Millions and billions can come and build on this infrastructure, interact on this infrastructure, transact using Curanium, feel knowing that it's safe, it's cheap, and that's really the dream that we are chasing at Curanium.
I love that. That's so in alignment with so many of the other things that we're seeing, in the progression of tech. So thank you so much for sharing that. And to be able to pull this whole thing off, you've got to get a team in there that's going to really put their heads down, dedicated team that's willing to really see it through, because it's going to be something that will, takes many years to be able to fulfill a vision like this, right? Yeah. So, from a leadership standpoint, I'm just wondering, what's your philosophy around teams? Building a strong team to drive innovation, as you kind of being that thought leader and, handpicking people into your team to be able to facilitate, this innovation. What would you say is your philosophy around the team and the value of the team and the people that are contributing to this?
I think the first and the foremost is finding people who align with your vision and who are equally crazy, equally mad, to give their all and really dedicate their lives towards this purpose. Like I said at the beginning of our chat, you can't achieve greatness by being comfortable. So really finding people who are comfortable being uncomfortable. Once that thought alignment comes, and I've always believed passion and dedication is much more powerful than talent. You can acquire talent. You can learn something. Blockchain industry has started becoming mainstream since 2015, 2016?
Yeah.
How old is it? And we are seeing it becoming $1 trillion industry. So new things come. If you have the passion and the commitment, and you're really all in towards some purpose, you can learn anything. So most important thing for us is finding these kind of people who exist and to disrupt, who believe in contributing towards a larger cause, and who want to be leaders themselves. And we have seen enough cases within our company as well, people coming from different walks of life, gave their all.
From across the whole world.
Exactly.
Which is pretty fascinating,
Yeah. So I think that's what matters at the end of the day. So let's flip it, Olivia. I think, you've asked me a lot of questions, and I want to take this opportunity to satisfy my curiosity, which I have not discussed with you yet, because we have been just working. Why did you join Curanium?
Well, I find it very interesting because when I first met you, you told me that you took some time off in between your projects to kind of figure out, okay, where can I make the biggest impact? How can I create a baby that will satisfy the needs of the future of Earth, right? I love entrepreneurship. I love working with entrepreneurs. I love to coach. I like, learning about different technologies, things like that. But I felt like I wanted my next quest to be something that, had a global impact, something that is going to be a baby that I can work on for a long period of time and see the long-term effect of putting, work in piece by piece. I'm putting effort in on a daily basis. What is the long-term result of that? And feeling motivated every single day is really important. And where do you find that motivation? Because it doesn't come from outside of you. It always comes from the inside. So I had to look at what are drivers in my mentality? What actually makes me feel fueled? I want to be able to work with something where I don't get drained. A lot of people talk about this like, watch out so you're not burning out and things like that. And I think to myself, it's difficult to burn out when you're passionate about something, at least from my own personal experience. And, I'm sure that people can argue against this. But the reason why I joined Curanium was it's a global team, it's a global initiative. It has that future vision, or a vision of a future that is so strong and aligns with a philosophy of making the world a better place and creating more freedom. And freedom is something that I've always valued as the highest thing in my life, whether it be freedom to travel or freedom to express myself or, freedom in my path, things like that. And so creating that freedom on a technological level, it kind of aligns with my mentality in life. So there were so many different elements that just kind of came together, and it felt like a no-brainer. And I also think that when you put effort in and you're not expecting anything in return, and it's still giving you a huge net profit in knowledge, energy, connections, things like that, you're in the right place.
Wow. That's so good to hear. You almost made me cry. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, Olivia, what would your advice be for somebody who's trying to make it in this industry, young entrepreneurs who's trying to build and be a part of this ecosystem? What would your advice be to them?
You have to listen to the Quantum Minds podcast. No, I'm kidding. But jokes aside, I think that the biggest thing that has kind of driven my journey in tech and things that have been intimidating to me, things that I actually haven't had enough knowledge about before, that I've been like, I really want to, become a leader in the space, but it's intimidating. It feels like, I don't even know where to begin. I'm not techie, I don't sit at home on my computer every night. And that's usually the frame that we have in our minds of tech, but tech is so much more than that. And so what it's about really is, if you're on a journey to become some kind of leader, or you're passionate about leadership, or you want to influence other people in a positive way, I think it's about taking 5 people that you're incredibly inspired by, and then you just brainwash yourself with their content. And that could be podcasts, it could be content on Instagram, but make sure that your algorithm is feeding you the right stuff. Because a lot of the time, you are going to be drawn to different things on social media because of your dopamine receptors. Make sure you're not hanging out with toxic friends, people with bad habits, people that don't have the same vision of the future as you. You want to brainwash yourself. You want to rewire your brain. The only way to do that is to make sure that the environment is a breeding ground for it.
Out of curiosity, who are the top 5 influencers for you that you follow?
It's actually kind of funny, and it's not what you would expect. But for me, Miley Cyrus has always been somebody on top of mind ever since I was little. And it's not really because of the music or the clothes that she wears or the shows that she's on. It's because she's so dedicated to authenticity. She doesn't care what other people think of her. She doesn't care if the whole world is building a narrative against her. She's always going to prove herself right in being authentic. From a philosophical and leadership standpoint, she's leading her life the way that she wants, fearlessly. She's completely fearless, and I really admire fearless people. They're just so real from an early age that you know what? This is the kind of life I want to live. And I don't care that no one else in my surrounding is living that life right now. I don't care that people around me are telling me that I'm crazy. These are the types of influencers I like to watch now because they have had a success journey. Maybe they're 10 years down the line and they're successful, and now they can tell the full story of how they got there and provide that context that it hasn't been easy. And I've had to make a lot of sacrifices, like you said. I've had to really make compromises here. But it's been for the greater good of myself, which is the greater good of the planet, is the greater good of humanity. And that's what I want to align myself with. And that's probably what they align themselves with in times of uncertainty.
Wow. I just love everything that you said.
I'm thinking of kind of wrapping things up here with a final question. And it's kind of just one of those fun little personal questions that I always like to ask people. What would you say is the best advice that you've ever received?
Never do something or never do a business on which you have to rely on somebody else much more than you can rely on your own self. Don't do something that you cannot do without somebody else. That's literally, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And that's a philosophy even I follow today. I don't think I will explain it much more. It's self-explanatory, but that's the advice that somebody gave me a couple of years back, and that has stuck with me.
Kapil Dhiman, it's been such a pleasure hosting you on the show today. From my heart to yours, true pleasure being able to sit here with the CEO and just pick your brains for a little while. And where can people find out more about you? How can people find out more about Curanium?
Just Google. That's the shorter answer. You'll find everything there. With this, thank you, Olivia, for this amazing conversation. It was an absolute pleasure. And really looking forward to taking this initiative of Quantum Minds forward and inviting some of the best leaders from across the globe on this show and learn from their experience and take that experience across geographies to try and influence young builders and business leaders across the world. It's going to be an interesting journey, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be super interesting. Thank you so much, Kapil.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.